So how do we heal the gut? So I just want to touch for a second about functional medicine. So integrative medicine, like Judith and Susie talked about, it is all of it. What do we need to get well? As one very well-known teacher once said, if I'm in a car accident and my nose gets ripped off, I don't want to have to meditate it back in place, right? There's a time and a place for Western medicine, but we have forgotten about our own self-healing capacity. So functional medicine and integrative medicine are sometimes referred to as upstream medicine. We're trying to understand why someone became ill in the first place, rather than, oh, you're having heartburn, here's Prilosec. Take this, it'll make it. Why are you having heartburn? What's going on in your life? What are you eating? What's your stress level? Are you sleeping? Are you exercising? Who are you hanging out with? Do you have a pet? We don't ask those questions, right? I've seen this in my own family, you know, with my mom just being drugged by a psychiatrist, you know, and like, did you say to her, you know what? I'm gonna be sure that you exercise 5 days a week, and then I'll see you in a month, and we'll see how you're feeling once you get out of bed. We don't ask those questions a lot. So that's what we try to do in functional medicine, to address the whole person, not just the symptoms. So we try to look at interactions, genetic stuff, which is overwhelming, but gonna be really change what we're doing and really, really just fascinating. So we're gonna know what meds work well or what supplements work well for people, but exploding area of science, environment, lifestyle. We're gonna really start to look at the big picture. So Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, all disease begins in the gut. And that's starting to make sense to us, right? Remember, disruption of gut health, we think causes these downstream effects. So in a functional medicine approach, we start by going upstream, and we look at gut health. So in the functional medicine approach, there are different ways of looking at it, but one is the 5R. Some people say 4R, some people say 10R, but 5R. So remove, replace, reinoculate, repair, and rebalance. So remove, we want to remove irritants. Are you on chronic acid blocking meds? Not good for your digestion or your overall gut health. Can we wean you off those? Do you have some occult infections in the gut? Are you eating too much processed food? Are you eating artificial sweeteners like we talked about? Food triggers, gluten and dairy, FODMAP foods. These are foods that are high in certain carbohydrates that get fermented in the gut, and they can cause a lot of bloating and distress. So we want to ban the junk food, and or not. This is the junk food pyramid. The USDA just came out with a new food pyramid, right? And what have they said? Well, we're okay if we're eating, I think it's up to 10% sugar. Guess who helped to write those guidelines? The food industry, right? Should we be eating 10% of our calories as sugar? Go figure, right? So we want to replace, and what are we replacing? We may use bitters. Bitters are things that my parents used to put bitters in their cocktails, you know, in the 1950s. Bitters help to get digestion going. Our vegetables, dark green leafy vegetables, are bitters. Vegetables used to be a lot more bitter than they are now. We've bred the bitterness out of them. But bitters can help stimulate digestion. We'll sometimes use enzymes. Raw dairy is making a big comeback. We're realizing, you know what? Raw dairy is not going to kill you. If you're getting chemotherapy and you're immune suppressed, don't eat raw dairy. But raw dairy is rich in enzymes. Again, some people just, their GI symptoms improve significantly when they eat raw dairy. Or if you properly prepare your food, your beans, nuts, and grains, you soak them, you activate enzymes in those foods. And we're replacing them with vegetables, and you know the drill, right? It's what your mother told you, eat your vegetables. So then reinoculate. Reinoculate means we're adding back in good bugs, prebiotics, probiotics. And probiotics are foods that are rich in probiotic organisms. We'll talk about those in a sec. Sometimes it includes pills, but be wary of pills, right? I don't think it's a good idea to be taking a probiotic over and over and over and taking those same strains, right? Because remember we said there's what, 1,000, maybe 10,000 strains? We're just starting to discover them. But nature knows what to do. If we eat the right foods, our bodies learn how to make the probiotics that they need. And then prebiotics are foods that have fiber in them because healthy gut bugs love the fiber. That's what they feed on. That's their food supply. And symbiotics are supplements that have both. So fermented foods like sauerkraut, cabbage, So every culture in the world had fermented foods. It's how we preserved foods in the past. So kefir, some yogurts, not all are rich in probiotics, but some yogurts are. Buttermilk, so cultured dairy products, sauerkraut, and other lacto-fermented vegetables. Lacto-fermented means it's salt and water with the vegetable, no vinegar. It's not that vinegar is bad, it's just vinegar, pickles, vinegar, sauerkraut is not a lacto-fermented food. It won't give you the same benefit, so read the label. And then in Japan, tempeh, miso, and natto are fermented soy products. Kimchi, kombucha, kvass. How many of you drink kombucha? Kombucha is everywhere now, right? You can get it at the gas station, I think. Even sourdough bread, a good sourdough bread, which is sourdough starter, no yeast, sourdough bread. There are many cultures that's one of the ways they got their fermented food. And even fermented fish and meats. Okay? We just had St. Patrick's Day, and a lot of the meat served at St. Patty's Day are fermented meats. And then we want to repair. How do we repair the gut? So this is sometimes, again, where I will use supplements, amino acids like glutamine and glycine. Glycine is found in bone broth. Bone broth is making a comeback. Bone broth is when you cook bones for a long period of time, and the collagen and the glycine and all those things go into the soup, and we eat those. That's how traditional peoples got their glucosamine. They didn't take a pill. They made their bone broth. Then minerals like zinc and magnesium, demulcents, which are things that coat the esophagus. So DGL is one supplement we use for that. It's a form of licorice. Slippery elm, aloe vera. A lot of people use aloe vera. Again, it can really soothe the gut. And then we'll use antioxidants or anti-inflammatories like turmeric, licorice, dark berries. There was a study done recently, fascinating, looking at people with lupus, with kidney dysfunction, which is serious, right? They gave them a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, the whole spice, 3 times a day with every meal, marked reduction in their kidney disease. Pretty incredible, right? Just nothing but the whole spice. Very protective, very anti-inflammatory. And then whey protein from dairy also can help to support gut health. And then intermittent fasting, we talked about that. This is a lot of data now being looked at intermittent fasting for cancer, for heart disease, for dementia, reversal of cognitive decline using fasting. Fasting is a time when, again, the gut helps to repair itself, and it may be the way that we reduce inflammation in the gut. Then moderate exercise and sleep and stress management. So how do you know you have a healthy gut? You look at your poop. Can you see type 3 and type 4? Type 4 is the happiest face, right? Type 3 is pretty good, pretty good. But if you're type 1 or 2, you need more prebiotics and probiotics and water and all that stuff. And if you're over here type 5, 6, 7, it means there's a little distress going on there also. So however your poop looks is an indication of how healthy you are. And then rebalance. So what do we need to rebalance to support restorative processes, like getting a good night's sleep? The immune system repairs itself at night, doing things that help us to lower stress during the day. And there's lots of things that we can do. We can eat mindfully, we can meditate or pray, like Susie said. Connecting with something bigger than yourself can be very powerful. Massage, time spent in nature, pets, sleep, exercise, journaling is a great way to reduce stress. When you just write out whatever is in your head and then you rip it, shred it, throw it away because you don't want anyone to see it, but it's a great way to get your stress out on paper. Laughter, and then cultivating a sense of awe and gratitude for your life. So putting it all together, you want to feed your microbiome, you want to eat those healthy foods. It's more important than ever. Avoid sugars and flours and other processed foods. Even whole wheat flour, whole grain flours are not necessarily good for the gut. We should be eating the whole grains, the whole cooked grains. Avoid animal foods that have been raised with antibiotics if you can. And there's a lot more available now. Watching your artificial sweeteners. You're better off having the sugar, I think, than eating artificial sweeteners. Watch your pesticides. Avoid antibiotics where you can. Watch those acid blocking drugs. Don't use antibacterial soaps. You don't need them. Just use regular soap. Cultivate resilience and gratitude and awe in your life, and hang out at a farm, enjoy your pets, put your hands in the soil. And that's my dog. So She makes me smile, makes me laugh.